In this tutorial, we're gonna take a look how we can make this player movement with buttons without using old and new input system. And before I jump into the coding part or in this tutorial, I want to thank Hector23, Gunting Baru and Alex Nadu for joining Patreon membership and unlocking exclusive benefits. And if you guys are interested, then you can go and check it out. The link available in the description. And also make sure you check out my game development courses on my Udemy page. The link will be available in the description box. Without further delay, now let's dive into this tutorial. You can see I have created this left and the right arrow button. So the first thing, go over to hierarchy, create the canvas, and then choose this event system and make sure this component is attached. It's called input system UI input module. If it's not, then click on add component and type the component name and then attach that. And after doing that, we're gonna create a script in order to move this player. So let's navigate to our project tab, assets, right click, create mono behavior script, and you can name it to something like player movement or player. I already created that script. You can see I have it over here. So let's attach this script to our player game object in order to move that. And the first thing what we need a reference to this rigid body 2D of this player, so we can add the linear velocity to this player game object. So let's grab the reference first. So let's come at the top of our class and let's make a variable for it. So we're gonna make a public rigid body 2D and we can call it RB, short for rigid body 2D. And now we can just save our script and we can just drag the reference there. Now let's take our rigid body, let's drag it over to this RB field. Now we can see we have the reference of rigid body and we are ready to add the velocity. And I'm gonna go ahead, I will remove the start function, we don't need. So let's get over to this update function. Let's go over to RB short. Basically we're just going over to rigid body 2D of our player. Now we're gonna access the linear velocity and we can set equal to a new vector 2, because this RB dot linear velocity is just gonna have the x and the y velocity. So we can set equal to a new vector 2 which just gonna have the x comma y. So in the y we don't want to add the velocity at all. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna put it there RB. So we will go to RB dot linear velocity dot y. It basically means the current velocity of this player itself in the y axis, but we do want to add the velocity in the x axis. Once we're gonna hold down these buttons, if we hold down the left one, then we want to move this player, or we just want to add the velocity to the negative direction. And if we hold down the right arrow button, then we're gonna add the velocity to the right direction. And if we lift off our finger, or if we don't hold down both of these buttons, then we just want to stop moving our player. So we're gonna make a movement parameter, and that movement parameter just gonna keep track of which direction we simply want to move this player. So we're gonna make a parameter for it. So let's come at the top of our class once again, and we're gonna make this one private. It doesn't need to be public, and that will be float type, and we can call it something like movement, just like that. And we're gonna make three function, one for moving right, one for moving left, and one for stop moving this player. So we're gonna make those function as public because we need to call this function through this button. And inside that function we just gonna set this movement parameter. We can set it to -1, +1, or 0 depending upon which direction we simply want to move this player. So let's get over to our script once again, and we need to mark this function as public because we're gonna call it through our button from that left and the right arrow button. So we're gonna mark this as a function public void, and we can call it move. So let's call this one move right, and we're gonna make two more function. You can see I have created this three function, one for moving right, one for moving left, and one for stop moving our player. So inside this function we're gonna set the movement parameter. You can think of the direction, you can simply assume. So once we're gonna move to the right direction, then I'm gonna set movement equal to +1 or 1f, and once we gonna call out the move left function, then I'm gonna set movement equal to -1 f negative direction. And once we don't want to move this player at all, so we can simply set the movement to 0. So let's set our movement to equal to 0, and now we can use this movement parameter and we can put it in the x velocity. So we're gonna put it there, and now this movement can be -1, +1 or 0 depending upon which function we just gonna call out. And we're gonna save our script and let's navigate to Unity editor. Now I'm gonna choose the right mouse button, the right button. So I will go to my canvas first, then I will navigate to mobile UI, and I'm gonna choose the right arrow button, and then click on add component, and you need to attach a component called event trigger in order to call out this function. Because we're gonna hold down, so we need to attach, or we can simply attach a button component. So since we just want to hold down and then we're gonna release the button, so we need to attach a component called event trigger. So let's choose the right arrow button first. So you can do with the left one, it doesn't matter, so just choose any of them. So we're gonna click on add component, and we're gonna attach this component called event trigger. And now we're gonna add two event, so one for moving right and one for stop moving this player. So since we're working with the right arrow button, so we're gonna call out the move right function. So let's click on this add new event type, and then click on this choose this pointer down. It means you just holding down the button. So in this situation, what we're gonna do, we're gonna call out the move right function. So let's click on this plus icon, and now we need to drag the game object, in which game object the script is setting on or attached. So in our case that will be player movement. So let's drag it there, and we're gonna click on this no function, and in the bottom we can say player movement C# class or script, and in there we created the move right function, we can notice. So we're gonna choose that. So once we're gonna hold down, then we just calling out the move right function, and we do know inside that move right function we're just setting this movement to 1. So this movement over here gonna be 1. So the velocity in the x-axis of this player will be 1, so it will go to right direction. And once we lift off our mouse from that button, or if we lift off our finger from that button, then what we're gonna do, we're gonna stop moving this player to move to the right direction. So we're gonna click on this add new event type, once again, and we're gonna choose this pointer up. It means that you just releasing the button, or you just lifting off your button from that you just lifting off your finger from that button. So in this situation, I'm gonna call out the stop player function, and we do know what we're doing there. So let's go to player movement script, and I'm gonna call out the stop player function, and we're gonna do the same thing with the left arrow button. So let's click on add component, event trigger, and let's add two event, one for holding down the button and one for releasing the button. And let's call out the so this is our left arrow button, so we're gonna call out the move left function. So let's take our player, let's go to player movement script, move left, and then once we're gonna release the button, then we're gonna call out the stop player function, which we have it in the bottom. So now it's we just done the main thing. And if we go ahead and check our game, as soon as we holding down the right arrow button, we can notice it's player just moving to the right direction. And once we lift off our mouse button from once we lift off our mouse from that button, this player stops moving, because once we releasing the button, then we calling the stop player function, and inside that stop player function we can see we just set the movement to 0f. And once we're gonna hold down the left arrow, we can see a left arrow button, this player just moving to the left direction, but the speed is too much slow. So we can simply multiply this movement parameter with some numbers, so we can just move it a little bit faster. So let's declare a variable for it. So let's come at the top of our class, and let's declare a variable for our move speed, that will be float type, and we can call it something like move speed. And by default I'm gonna set equal to something like 5f or 5 unit. and let's multiply this movement with our move speed. And the move speed by default we have chosen 5. Let's assume we just holding down the right arrow button, so this movement over here gonna be 1. So 1 into move speed, which is by default we set 5, so 1 into 5 will be 5. It means we just adding the velocity to this player to the right direction 5 unit of move speed or 5 unit, and we can just save our script. If we hold down the right and the left arrow button, we can notice the player is moving little bit faster, and we can just play around with this move speed